Welcome to IB Unplugged, a Cognity podcast for IBDP educators that tackles your submitted questions and challenges by connecting you with experts and peers who share their ideas and stories from real classrooms.
Hello, and welcome to IB Unplugged. This week, we are talking with Junita Boy. We're talking about mental health, well-being, and the IB diploma program. And we're really excited to be talking with Junita because she's an educator, a psychologist, an inclusion advocate dedicated to holistic student and teacher well-being. She's got 2 master's degrees, one in educational psychology, another one in advanced teaching and learning, and alongside a Bachelor of Education in guidance and counseling. So she brings a lot, both to the academic expertise and practical expertise in terms of what she does on a daily basis, which, now she's a teacher at an international school. She's a certified psychologist and an IB psychology, history, and TOK teacher. She's integrating mental health awareness, social emotional learning, and inclusive education into her teaching practice. Her passions lie in supporting both students and educators in navigating the challenges of learning and teaching, and she strongly believes that a healthy learning environment starts with mentally and emotionally supported teachers, which in turn fosters student success. So through her work, she advocates for self-care, resilience, and meaningful conversations around mental health and education. And that's exactly what we were able to do with Junita today, and we're really excited for you to dive into this episode where there's been a lot of golden nuggets that are going to come your way here pretty soon.
Yeah, we've had such a pleasure to be able to work with Junita in the past at Cognity. We've really loved having a few opportunities to work with her. She's been a conference speaker at Engage Ghana, and she's also been behind one of our interviews for World Mental Health Day. And we've been able to, get a lot of insights from her and be able to shape some of the work that we've been doing in Cognity. So it was a clear win when we had some people asking about doing an episode on mental health for students and teachers. We knew that she was the right person to talk to. So yeah, it's been a great episode with her. I've loved hearing her ideas of really ways that the teachers can work really intimately with the individual students and really about noticing the subtleties and really noticing how to build these relationships with students in the classroom and outside of the classroom, and also about taking care of each other. I think it's so clear how much her team love working together, and I think how big of an impact that can also have on teacher well-being too.
Yeah. I think what really stood out for me was essentially this idea of you're creating a culture of inclusivity and wellness and essentially looking after one another. And that not only translates between colleagues, but also through students. And so this concept of culture not just being from the leadership, but everybody building that up together is a message that I think held pretty strongly in our conversation. So there's a lot to have in this episode. We're really excited for you to be here with us again at IB Unplugged, and we hope you enjoy this episode focusing in on well-being and mental health in the IB Diploma program with Junita Boy.
Hi, Junita. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here for this episode.
I'm so excited to be here as well.
Thank you. So we like to get started with just some warm-up questions to kind of get people to understand a little bit of your background and your thoughts. So our first question is always, why education? Why did you choose a career in education?
I know every teacher would back me up on this. Nobody chooses to be a teacher. I know how it sounds, but there is a good part about it. So education was never my first choice. I actually wanted to go into law, but because I have a very traditional father, I ended up in education. He brought me the application papers for education. And I was like, I want law, but because how we are cultured, it was hard for me to push up against him. This is what I want. So I was like, let me go get the education degree. Then I'm just going to give it to you and go do law after that.
Okay.
But apparently when I went into education, I realized there were different choices to education. So you can either go do education arts, you can either do education guidance and counseling, or you can do special needs. Mm-hmm. So I saw this guidance and counseling looks interesting. Mm-hmm. Why not try it?
Yeah.
So when I started teaching, but at the same time I was counseling, I was lured into teaching because of counseling. Mm-hmm. So it's the one thing that drew me closer to students. It's the one thing that when a child comes to me and talks to me about something, that's what drew me to education. Mm-hmm. And I realized when you are in the counseling office, it's not enough. When you socialize with students outside in classroom, you get to know them better and you get to help them better. So that's what lured me to education. And so when I finished even my teaching practice and everything, I was like, okay, Dad, thanks for education.
Okay. You were kind of right. I give in now. I'll do it.
He probably also didn't expect you to be off in India now and traveling the world with education. He probably regrets that part.
Definitely. Like even coming to India itself, like it has changed everything in my life, like totally everything. How I see people, how I see everything. Like my perspectives has really widened as a result of education, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure that brings so much more to the classroom now too. And as you said, with kind of that gateway being the counseling and sort of looking after people, and now seeing that in the classroom, I'm sure widening that perspective has made some pretty positive changes for those young people too.
Yeah, you never lose it. That aspect, because of that thing, that in education, we tell ourselves what keeps you in education is your why. You need to remember your why. Why am I here?
Yeah.
So, because teaching at times can be hectic, it can be tiresome, and at times non-rewarding.
Every once in a while, it's rewarding as well.
Yes, at times it's rewarding, but personally, at times you can feel like I'm not getting what I deserve. I'm not being paid enough for this.
Sure.
But then you remember your why. Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. So for me, when I see a student who comes into my class, shy, can't speak in class, or has low self-esteem, demotivated, but they leave my class when they are a totally different person, that is my why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is now my why. That's what moves me. That gives me strength to come back to the same class over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's better than any paycheck could really be, right?
It's better. It's something that it like steers you up, and like I want to make a change. I'm not just saying that, but you have like intrinsic motivation to do much more and to help other people do the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't just start teaching in an international school, by the way. When I started teaching, I taught in a very remote school in Kenya.
Okay.
That was my first experience to teaching.
Yeah.
Where girls wouldn't go to school, and if they did, they were married off when they were very young. So most of them came to school, but they came from their husband's house.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
So it was a different dynamics to it when I was teaching these girls and seeing them and then empowering them, giving them strength. They had kids at home, yet they had to do your homework. Like they were nurturing their own kids.
And this was a secondary school, right?
This was a secondary school.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing girls who some even feel like, why am I even doing this? I should just drop off and stay in my husband's house. And they need to look up to you. And when I started teaching, I was around 21 years old. So you'd find most of them, because they went to school late, most of them were almost my age and even 22, 23 years old. So they would look up to me like, how did you get there? Like, you made it.
Yeah.
So,
you're like, my dad made me.
Yeah. Definitely. But for that, those are some of the things that really steered me and moved me towards education. And I was like, sometimes I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing it for other people. Like, I need to be strong to show these girls that you can do it. You can be this strong, powerful woman that you want to be in future. And don't just think of yourself as, oh, I'm a married woman, I have no hopes in life. So those are some of the things that even motivated me earlier on in my teaching career.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's we're calling that a warm-up question, but I'm feeling pretty warm already. But we like to kind of take it on to the next question here, which I wonder if you could just sort of stay within that vein of like, how, as you said, it drew you to education through guidance and essentially counseling itself. And so with that in mind, where do you see the role of educators evolving in the coming years? Like, and specifically with regard to like counseling and guidance with young people?
So even the beauty of IB, because I also didn't start in IB, I started teaching the Kenyan curriculum. Mm-hmm. The beauty of IB is its teaching methodologies are different. We see teachers as facilitators. And you don't just focus on academic performance. You focus on the holistic development of the child. Mm-hmm. And when I talk of a teacher being a facilitator, I'm not just saying that you stand there and say, okay, these are the tools, do your own thing. No. A facilitator does more than that. Other than availing tools, you create a safe environment for learning. You create an environment where a student can engage in discovery learning through either projects, through inquiry-based. You are also creating a global citizen. This child that you're nurturing is going to live amongst other people. We need to create an environment where this child that you're nurturing can coexist with others. So you will see that a teacher's job is not just go there, teach your history, teach your psychology, and leave the classroom. You're nurturing somebody. You're nurturing a person who's going to live with other people. You're nurturing critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, creativity. So this is what a facilitator is supposed to do. And for you to connect with that, you have to do more than just teach. You need to get to know this child. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What do they like more? You'll find me in class coming to teach my students. I don't want to just be the boring psychology teacher or the boring history teacher. I might be teaching something and I'll say, okay, first, before we start, can we relax? Can we dance to this song? I'll be the first one dancing to that song. So that they see me as a human being first, so that they can connect to me. So this is important. Not everyone can do that. But when you connect with your students, I've had my students telling me so many times, Miss, when I come to your class, that's when I'm at ease. Like, I don't have stress. I'm not saying psychology is easy, but this class gives me joy. And that's what I want to hear from my students.
But this is awesome, though, because you talk about, like, okay, you're creating safety, you're creating a place for joy, you're creating a place for people to feel comfortable, and then talking about inspiring a global citizen and somebody who can go on to, and what's great is sometimes we'll ask this question, and a lot of people are talking like AI and tech and this sort of stuff, which I think is going to be present in our future. But I love that you've rooted this back in the fundamentals of, like, no, what's the role of us as teachers? It's to cultivate the youth into what's going to be coming. I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I also think it's one that it takes a lot of vulnerability and a lot of confidence too, to be able to say, like, I'm not going to create a boundary between me and my students, or like there's a lot of feeling of maybe I need to be a more professional, but then it's also like, no, but I want to be myself as well. And like, I think that there's so much impact in, like, students will react to what feels authentic in so many ways. But then maybe there's also some schools where it feels like you need to be more straight and direct and like a bit more impersonal too.
But sometimes, Courtney, it's not even about the kind of what kind of teacher or what kind of information that you have. You'll find that the kids nowadays, they have a lot of information, even regarding your subject. Like, you need to guide. They will know a lot. Whatever you want to tell them, they can Google it in a minute.
Right.
They can get that information in ChatGPT in a second. So what is your role as a teacher? It is much more than that. It's not just about, you're nurturing critical thinking skills. You're nurturing creativity. You're nurturing problem solving. And that's the role of a facilitator.
I love that. Be more nurturing on it. Okay. All right. So now let's get into kind of the meat of what we wanted to talk about with today's episode, talking a little bit about, like, mental health, well-being, specifically in the IB Diploma program, and how that affects the people that are involved in it, both the teachers and the students. And I wonder if you could talk to us about, what are some of the biggest factors that are affecting student well-being, and what are the biggest factors affecting teacher well-being or staff well-being? And is there overlap between the two? Is there any sort of similarities between them as well?
I think, in my opinion, the two are interconnected, because happy teacher, happy student, definitely. Because some of the struggles that most teachers face is burnout, workload, toxic work environments, toxic bosses, because there can be toxic bosses, including micromanagers and all that, which can be very overwhelming for teachers. So for students, other than also workload, especially right now, for the IBDP students who has to submit extended essays, IAs, at the same time read for the exams. Sometimes this can be overwhelming. I worked in my previous school where I worked, there's a student who just didn't show up to school. Like, he said, I'm done. And like, we just few minutes for you to sit for your IB diploma exam. And he was like, no, it's okay. I don't want to do it. What about your future? I don't care.
You just hit a wall.
Yeah, he just hit a wall. He would not submit his extended essay. He would not submit his IAs. He was like, do whatever you want. I'm done.
Goodness.
So this student was also one of my history students.
Uh-huh.
And for me, he was a good student.
Yeah.
So for me to see like a good student, somebody that I know wouldn't fail, is hitting a brick wall, then that means there is a problem. So one thing they did, they actually sent him to a professional counselor. And I thank my former school for that because they had strategies for this. But now when the boy comes back, he has to deal with teachers who are all the same, are under pressure.
Sure.
Because the DP coordinator is on my neck. Where is your extended essay? Where is your IA for this boy? And I'm like, I've been trying to follow him up. Even if you write emails, sometimes it does nothing.
We're lucky he's here, yet alone with his extended essay done.
Yes. So I have to like go one-on-one with this boy and like be at a personal level. What are you struggling with? And I'm like, miss, I already see myself have failed because I have not submitted my IA. I have not done anything. I have not read. So once he puts all these things down, it's like he's being overwhelmed. The workload is too much.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want you to break down. Let's do one thing fast. Let's start with my IA. Of course, mine has to come fast.
mine will take priority and then we'll do the others. Yeah.
Let's start with this one. What can we do about this here? I know your strength. I know your abilities. Like, you have to reassure them. That belief system is very important for a child. Because once a student knows you believe in them, that's the best thing that they can ever get. Like, you're my best student. Like, I can't see you failing this subject. Come, what's your problem? Let me guide you. Let me show you. Where are you stuck? And I'm on his neck every time. Come out of class. He sees me and it's like, oh, here she is again.
Yeah.
But I also want you to note that even this, for a teacher, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I also have other students.
Yeah.
Right. You can't do that with every single
You
student
can't do that
you
with
have.
everyone. And that goes now to the school culture in supporting teachers, in supporting students on this aspect. It's a very important thing.
It's given them that space to like believe in the student. And I've always a thing that's always kind of driven me is like every student needs somebody who believes in them and every student needs somebody who's going to push them.
Yeah.
And in some cases that might be the same person, but in other cases might be different. And so as you mentioned, like, okay, maybe you've got your DP coordinator or some other leader who's kind of like, okay, let's go, let's get this stuff. We need to get it turned in. It also requires them to be aware and empathetic and understanding of the situation too, right? So like there's definitely got to be some clear communication so that people can understand like what the situation is and then assume one of those roles. And just speaking as a DP coordinator, you can guess often I'm on the pushing side of things, but you absolutely have to have those people who like, I believe in you, you can do these things and you got to have that present in order for the students to really bring out their best.
So you can imagine this is one teacher who's doing it. You don't know what the other teachers are doing in their subjects to make this boy do his paper.
Right.
So if all of you would come together and just strategize to help this boy, that would be of much help to this kid. And then that again calls to the school culture and the strategies and the resources you've put in place to help such students when they reach such a position. I also want you to note that students don't only struggle with workload, there's emotional stress.
Yeah.
Social stress. Even girls in my class come in class like they are mad because maybe their boyfriend has done this and that. And they will bring that energy in your classroom.
Yeah.
Not forgetting also, you come from home with your own energies. Like for me, I have a 3-year-old baby. I have toddlers in my house. So when I come from home, I also have my own stress.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like 2 parts of stress meeting at the same time in the classroom. So if you can't have also self-management of yourself and your own stresses, you might end up venting out on this teenage girl in your classroom.
Right.
Which can be disastrous.
I could
And if you
imagine.
can't vent out in the class, you will either end up venting out on another teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen a teacher venting out on the school's timetabler. Like, how comes I have 21 lessons? And it was like, no, the way we have scheduled and all that, the other teacher is trying to explain, and this one, it just picks him up and pulls him on the floor.
Like,
Sure.
what?
Yeah, this would show there is other stresses behind this.
Right.
And this is a real scenario happening.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about like compartmentalizing, right? So we kind of have to, and I think as adults and teachers, we're kind of expected to already know how to do that, right? So I've got my stress at home. I've also got a toddler at home, and Courtney does as well. And so it's like, okay, we've got this, like, here's this thing, and now I have to leave that where it is and now come to work and be in that mindset and be in like, I'm in a service mindset now, and I'm ready to like pour into other children and help them grow. And then I have to leave all that stuff elsewhere. And I think that compartmentalization is tough anyway for anybody. And yet at the same time, we're also expecting this from like our teenagers and younger students as they go through the diploma program. We're kind of expecting them to show like this level of maturity that says, okay, that thing's stressing you out, but it can only stress you out at this time and at that place, not now. Now I need you to focus in on this, right?
Yeah. So it needs also a lot of emotional intelligence for a teacher to handle this stuff. But they can't also do it alone. Management has to come in, find ways of making the environment conducive as well for teachers.
Yeah.
In my former school, what we used to have like on Fridays, every end of the month Fridays, it's just time for teachers to relax, provided by the school. They would call in music and all that for teachers to relax. Mm-hmm. On Wednesdays of every month, it was time for like yoga and exercise. This was provided by the school. Mm-hmm. They're trying to show that we care about your well-being, we care about your mental health. And it's a very important aspect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another important thing is that also try and understand the kinds of workers that you have. Also as a manager or somebody in management.
Right.
Learn to know that when somebody is fatigued and needs it, there are some teachers who wouldn't even take leave because they are feeling, I can't finish that. The struggle of every teacher is that you do a lot of work to go to work so that you can work.
Yeah.
Because I'm creating my lesson plans. I'm working around the clock. I'm always working. Even when I'm sick, I have to leave work for my substitute teacher.
Yeah, I have to do work to make sure that I can do work when I do later. So I can have some more work.
So it's also important for teachers to know when to ask for help. Collaboration is an important aspect. When you feel like you're overwhelmed, ask another teacher in the department to chip in. Have professional mentors who can mentor you, who can talk to you when you hit a brick wall. It's a very important aspect for a teacher to have, or even just anyone who's working, to have a professional mentor. And also learn to ask for help and know when, put boundaries so that you can know when your boundaries have been crossed. And you can now act towards them.
Yeah, I also think it's important to create a space where you can ask for help and where you can say that I'm about to hit a brick wall, where I think that's a huge part of it too, is really being able to create that space, the safe space. Just like you say, you want to create that for your students, where your students can say, I'm struggling or I'm having a hard time right now. Teachers also have to be able to feel comfortable doing that.
It's very, very important for teachers to feel, even just having approachable bosses. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm struggling with this. You'll work in a certain environment where there's a lot, the toxic environment that I was talking about, there's a lot of competition where when you say you don't know something, it's seen as a sign of weakness that will be used against you later on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you have a work culture that's like that, or an environment that's like that, then nobody would ask for help. Everyone will be struggling with everything on their own. But if you have bosses who have an open door policies, and also when you can't do something and you're like, I know you gave me this task, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. Can I get some help or guidance on helping me achieve this or that? Mm-hmm. That is an environment that's open, that people can be able to assist one another other than compete against one another. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the best places I've worked is where I'm currently working. Like I told you, my department members are psychos in a good way. Like, I love them.
Apologies for any department members listening.
I love them. I love them. I've never worked in an environment that I am the head of department, but I don't feel like the head of department. I tell them, if I don't know this, I don't know it. So can we put our heads together and manage it? know how to do it, go about it. So it's an environment of collaboration, helping one another.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a task and somebody has not done it, the first thing is not for me to yell at them. It's like, what happened? What are you struggling with? Okay, guys, come. John has a problem. Let's tackle that problem together.
Multiple problems,
Yeah. So, so even my department members, they feel confident even to go for higher positions. Like currently my department, even though I'm the head of the department, in my department, we have the DP coordinator, we have the PP coordinator, because we support each other. If somebody feels like, I think I have enough knowledge to go for a higher role, I'm like, oh, we are like cheering you on. Go for it.
Yeah.
How do we help you get it? So
Yeah.
it's one of the most wonderful departments I've worked in so far.
That's great. And I think like having that is so much more important than probably anything else. It's like the classic companies that are like a startup company and they're like, oh, but we have a ping pong table. And it's like, that's great. But if we're all about to burn out here, it's not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with every person and how they treat one another.
Mm-hmm.
And the work culture and the environment that has been created by the school itself. If it's a competitive environment, trust you me, everyone is going to be sick and tired, and there will be a lot of turnover rates in that place.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in the intro, Junita has worked with Cognity in the past to be able to really set some concrete ideas on how to support well-being in your schools. So we wanted to give you a few of the examples that she shared with us previously. For students, you can create free spaces in classrooms for when students need to take a mental break or process emotions independently. You can also start a peer counselor club to establish a culture amongst students where mental health can be discussed. You can also start what she calls an unmasked club, which focuses on creating awareness within schools around mental health issues. To work with your staff on mental well-being, you can provide mental health breaks on Fridays, for example, where you tell stories, play music, and more to help prevent teacher burnout. She also has established open forums with school leadership to create a culture of transparency. And you can also start a mental health committee, which is made up of elected staff members who communicate needs and concerns to administration. If you want to read this article or listen to her other interview, you can go to cognity.com/IBUnplugged, and we're sharing some of these resources that Junita recommends that highlight the importance of acknowledging mental health's role in education and proactively improving your well-being.
It sounds a lot like what you're talking about here is to create that culture. It kind of lends itself back to what we were talking about with like believing, like we believe in the students and the students need to know that we believe in them, but it also comes down to like believing in your colleagues. So like the people that are there, like believe the best in what they're aiming for. People don't wake up wanting to do a bad job,
Trust.
you know? And so like that sort of fundamental belief of like, okay, I know you want to come in and do your best. I know you want to come in and do good things for other people and do good things for the students in our school. And that, you know, I think if you're starting to see, as you mentioned, some burnout or some people like unable to accomplish tasks or something like this, you know, it should be a time for leadership or anybody else to kind of reflect and go like, am I asking too much right now? Are we pushing too far? Or like, there's also that line of like, well, no, but we still have some expectations. We have to push those. And so I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this a little bit. Like, where do you kind of toe that line of making sure like, yes, you're definitely supported. We understand where you're at in that sort of situation. And we've got to hit these sort of deadlines. So what's sort of how do you hit that sort of middle road?
I know I've been accused mostly of being a pessimist when it comes to people.
Yeah, I've gotten that impression, Junita.
No, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist when it comes to people. Like, I believe so much in people and their intentions. Like, my first intention is not like, this one is up to sabotage me. Like, I'm not that kind of a person. So I give people a lot of chances. And trust you me, there are also some who will violate this.
Yeah.
So it's the most important thing is know when to have a firm hand and know when to show empathy and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
There are some situations that need empathy and understanding, and there are some situations that need a firm hand. So the most important thing is know where to draw the line.
Are there simple ways to do that?
There are no simple ways to that because it comes by case situations, trial and error. Like, you will make mistakes, definitely. Some will violate this trust that you have on them. But the most important thing is for you to always be sober and objective, even as a manager, even if when you're doing your task, sobriety is very important. Objectivity is very important. And also call other members. Like you would see if I have one unruly member who is not doing something, I'm not even the one who will say something. The other members will be like, you're letting us down. Can you just go do that job? Like, I'm not even the one saying. Because the collaborative spirit that's there, I don't even have to say anything. Like, everyone will be on him. What is your problem? Why is this not finished? Like, we finished like last week. Why are you not finished? What's the problem? You're letting us down. You're letting our department down. So I don't have to say it. So you'd see this person like they're seeing the energy. They're the ones who have low energy and they have to match up the others' energy. Once you create this spirit of collaboration and just cheering each other on, there's one way or another, somebody will feel so badly if they do something that's not supposed to be done, or when they just let the team down. They feel like they need to come up. I've had people coming to me in person and saying, I'm really sorry I'm late with this submission, but just give me this night. I'm really, really sorry. And it's like, oh, chill down. It's okay. Just submit it when you have time. Because they feel like if they don't submit it, they'll let you down. They'll let the department down. Let it be like a teamwork. They're doing it for the team and not for you. If you make them feel they're doing it for the team, they'll do it. But if you make them feel they're doing it for you, trust me, they'll let you down.
And part of that, like creating that team atmosphere, is I guess also making sure that people understand the role they play on the team, you know, because it's like, I'm not just part of a team. And as you say, like, oh, I have to do this for this person. Rather, you start to understand like, this is a part of a bigger wheel that I contribute to. And I think that's a really important aspect of making sure that people understand, like, yes, we believe in you. And two, you're a valued member. Like like you've got to do this. Like we need you to do these things because that's the role that you're bringing right now. Yeah. And so it's sort of that like recognition of like, you have an important role to play, and we need you to play that.
Recognize their strengths. As a leader, it does not mean that you know everything. Every person in your department has a strength, and you need to play out to these strengths. Oh, you're good with tech. Teach us this. You're good with this. Teach us this. You're good with the EE extended essays. Help us understand it much better. Like, play to their strengths. And when they feel their strengths are being valued and they are helpful and it's being brought to the table and you see their strength, then they feel like they're part of the team. Yeah.
Now here's the rub. Here's the tricky thing, I think, as a leader. Like if you are, you need to be objective and have that sober approach to the problems, as you mentioned before, and also have that empathy, that like ability to understand where somebody's coming from and kind of really come to connect with them. And I think in order to have that connection, there's got to be those emotional aspects as well. Like you mentioned, okay, we have the Friday afternoon dancing thing or the Wednesday yoga or these things that are set up for staff to connect with one another. You start to blend this line where I think it's okay if your relationships exist outside of a professional setting because it helps to enhance the professional setting. But it can obviously go wrong in many respects as well. So how do you toe that line? How do you make sure that like, here's a problem that I need to approach objectively, but I need to show this person who I know and care about that compassion and that empathy that they need. And how do I make sure that line is just right? So
the issue to this is that the boundary can at times be blurred if you mix business with other things. Like it's very easy to blur the line and be very hard like to be firm and tell somebody, I need this submitted today and this is your friend. Right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, the same regard and respect that you show them as a friend, as a colleague, then they should also be able to show you the same. And if they're not able to show you the same, it means they have violated trust, they've violated everything. And that's not right. So like, depending on the case and the person, you need to be firm. Like there's a time for, this is empathy, this is friendship. And there's also a time to just be firm. Like, I need this submitted today. Yeah. And if they know you and they know the kind of person that you are and how you work, they know when it's coming from a professional place and not a personal place. Yeah.
So fundamentally, if you're coming at it with that authentic like approach to doing a good job of what you want to do and that relationship exists, then it can build out of what you just said, that trust that exists
Yes.
outside of school as well as in school or in the
Yeah.
professional setting, to say like, okay, I trust this person still wants the best for me and what I can get out of it. And I need to do this because this is talking about being in a team, not just a friendship.
Yeah. That this is work now.
Yeah.
This is business.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it'd be similar for you, John. Like you work in a school in a pretty small town. You have the relationships with people. You want to be able to be friends with the people on your team, but then you also do have to show up in a professional way. I do think that is tricky sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, to your point earlier there, Junita, like sometimes I will have people coming up and just like overly apologetic that they're going to miss something. And as a leader, it kind of makes you go like, whoa, what sort of conditions have I created?
Yeah.
That this person feels like they have to like, just, I'm so, So you, it's a constant work, I think. It's a constant practice, just like all of our professions are. But it's it's that constant practice of, am I making sure I've got some high expectations with some low threat, but still making sure that people feel like they can be their best selves here. And you can never really sit comfortably on that. It's a constant work, I think.
Yeah. And I guess it's like that with your students too. Like you were saying, like, I'm going to be the teacher who's going to be the first one dancing in class, but I'm also going to make sure you submit your eye.
Yes. You're going to submit your eye. This is the deadline.
And then we can dance.
And then we can dance.
Yeah.
So they know that, and you would see them even like the environment that I create in my class. It's one that a student would approach me. I'm not the school counselor, but they would approach me about a personal thing they're struggling with. Because I've taught my students for long to know when somebody is not in a good mood, when somebody has an issue. I'm like, today you don't look yourself, Courtney. Are you okay? No, miss, I'm fine. And after the class, I'm like, okay, come. Now, can you tell me what's up?
And tell me what's going on.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah. No, miss, it's just that, what? Just, I'm here, right? I'm here. Anytime you feel like you need to talk, just know that I'm here. And even though at times they would not tell you at that time, you would even get an email like, miss, I didn't want to tell you at that time, but this is what I'm struggling with. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, do you want to come to class and talk next time? Or is it okay if I tell this to the school counselor so that you can talk to them? Like they need to know who to confide in and that it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So depending on the issue, if it's something that I feel that it can handle, it's sometimes adolescent stuff, like I've broken up with my boyfriend. Or they have a lot of issues though.
Yeah. Well, this lends itself to kind of what you were talking about earlier. Like people come in with different stressors and different things that have like affected their lives already. And now they're in the classroom. And I guess, as we're talking about mental health and mental well-being and how people can really take care of themselves, especially on the diploma program, how many of these sort of like situations or things that might be affecting their mental health are kind of isolated to a school situation in a place where like school leaders or teachers can impact that thing? Or like to what extent are these things kind of out of our hands, I guess you could say? Like what's the role of the educator in ensuring that mental health and mental well-being of young people?
What I would like to say is that sometimes an educator can't work in isolation, and that's where the parents come in. Like, I'm not expected to fix everything about the child once they're in school. The home environment plays a very big role. The parents, the people they're surrounded with, it plays an incredibly big role to making up this kid. As an educator, I can only do enough. I don't know the environment that kid lives in. And that's why in certain situations, you will see that we would call in the parents so that we try and understand the home dynamics. What is happening at home? How is it affecting this child? So even parents have a role to play with the child and how the child ends up.
And with that, when you have the parents in, does it kind of click? You're like, this is what's going on. Like this parent's going to bring in so much,
In some cases, yes.
Yeah.
In some cases, yes. When you see the parent, you can actually be able to tell why this kid is behaving the way they do.
Right. Yeah. And so then do you feel an obligation to almost do kind of a well-being, almost counseling session with the parent then to be like, we got to sort you out because all your stress is manifesting itself in this poor kid.
At times, I would say it in a very polite or like
non-objective way, like I just did.
Yes, not like that.
Take what you did, John, and undo
because at
that.
times you'll have very fussy parents. So I wouldn't say it like straight on, head on, and it's like anytime you say something, people never like to hear the truth.
Yeah.
So I will say it in a very subtle manner. Like, do you think your kid needs more space? Is the environment peaceful? Like, in a very subtle manner. So that I know when I say this, they understand what I'm saying. They know where it's coming from. So in case they would want to talk to me more, because I've had parents, you are there in the meeting and you're talking to both the parent and the child, and then they would say, can I just see you a few minutes? And then they would tell you everything so that you have the whole picture. And then they would say, what can I do to help this situation? How can I help my child? So we have those parents, but you'll have others who can't take any criticism. They can't, like, they'll be like, there's a problem with this teacher.
Yeah.
So you need to be very careful with such parents. So you will know when your help is needed and when your help is not required. So at the same time, to also protect your mental health, create your boundaries. If you know your help is not required, you can give suggestions, but you cannot control what they do with those suggestions.
Yeah. At either of your schools, do you have like overt, like straightforward ways of talking to parents about mental health? Is there anything that you do to, because I agree that they're a huge stakeholder in a student's mental health and mental well-being.
I've worked in 2 different places currently. When I was in Kenya, the school that I was in had deliberate measures to handle issues with mental health. One of these is because the kids that we were handling came from very poor backgrounds. So it's like the school sponsored everyone in that school. Everyone in that school was sponsored because they were intelligent and they came from poor backgrounds. Not just poor, others came from like traumatic backgrounds. I think I've said this earlier. Some students were in situations where either they've been raped or they just lived in bad conditions. So when they come, we already know the baggage they are carrying. So we already know how we need to handle them. Some didn't even have parents, some were orphans. So we already knew how to handle them. Strategies, counseling, and everything was put in place to ensure these kids were provided a safe environment for this to happen.
Yeah.
So it made it very easy because now I know you already know what you're handling and you know how to go about it. And some parents were present, some parents were not present. So it's like nurturing this kid until they finish secondary school was up to you as a teacher. So like you are the mother, the father, the brother, the mentor, you are everything to this child.
Right.
So that's also an overwhelming responsibility, but the school created measures, including resources to help us manage this, including teachers to come and teach us about some stuff of handling trauma and all that. So it created an environment where we understood what we are handling and you know how to go about it. Now, currently, I'm teaching in a school which is not the same as the school that I was teaching, but still we have the guidance counselor in the school. But the most important thing is that every teacher at some point, you will need to be just more than a teacher. And it takes a very good teacher or a committed teacher to notice when a kid is struggling. Not just struggling in your subject, but struggling emotionally, struggling socially. Because a child who struggles socially and emotionally can never learn. They will never learn because their head space is not there. They are not there. So you will not be teaching them anything until they're in that space where their environment is good and clear and open for learning. That's when they can learn. So as a teacher, you need to clear this up before you start teaching. And that's the aspect of creating a safe learning environment for this child. So that's why I would be teaching my psychology, but I notice somebody's off in my class. Somebody is fussy in my class. Or for the first time, a child who's usually very disciplined in class, I give them their psych paper exam, and the child just takes the paper, throws it back at me, and bangs the door and leaves the room. And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, it's not something I said.
Yes, the first time that happened, I was like, what happened? So for me, I take time. Like I said, I take time to handle things. I don't just burst out, come back here. What's wrong with you? I give you time to burst out. Go out, burst out. I give you time to do that. and relax. So I will not fuss about it. But the girl will come back in class, pick her bags, and I'm like, oh, please, can you just come a minute?
Yeah.
Yes, miss. And then adolescents, they usually have an attitude. So they're like, yes, what do you want?
Yeah. For those listening, we just got an excellent mimicry of what that looks like.
Yeah. Like, are you okay? Yes, miss, I'm fine. Anything else?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of these.
So,
yeah.
This can push off a teacher who is trying to help. And at times, that's where some teachers say, I'll do my job and go home.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's something in me that would not let this let go. I would just not let this go. Like, come back.
Yeah. So I love that because what you're talking about here is like a persistence to create a safe space first.
Yes.
And even if somebody's kind of resisting against that, it's like, just stay persistent. Like, our goal is to create a safe environment. And then from that safe environment, we can learn, right? So, and I love that's kind of coming back to hierarchy of needs sort of thing and making sure that I'm comfortable and I'm safe and I'm valued here. And now I can add information.
Yes. So most of the time is just creating I know this is coming from a counseling background, but the unconditional positive regard is a very important thing. And it has helped me as a teacher. Like, the child will fuss and go away, but next morning they will have time to think about their behavior and what they did. And it's like, miss, I'm sorry, yesterday I was a brat. They would actually use that word. And I'm like, what happened?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that didn't sound right. I don't recall that.
What happened?
Yeah.
That's not you. That's not the you that I know. What happened? And they were like, miss, this and this is what happened. And then they would explain their situation.
Mm-hmm.
So then that goes back. If I would have overreacted, it would have escalated badly and brought other problems and broken the trust between me and the student.
Mm-hmm. So I love the idea of like this unconditional positive regard and kind of having that in our teaching and our learning spaces all the time. I wonder, because there are schools, and mine's one of them, to answer your question, Courtney, where we have like explicit sessions on well-being, and we have like set aside classes, if you will, where we talk about certain things that go over outside of the curriculum, but things that could be affecting somebody's mental health. And I'm interested to hear your perspective on that, Junita. Do you think like that's a beneficial thing that people should be doing? Like, what are the possible drawbacks to that kind of thing? Do you do it in your classes? Like, how do you kind of approach that? Do you do it like explicitly, or is it just something that every teacher has to kind of internalize and create that culture of like constant positive expectations?
Like I said earlier when we started the session, is like the culture has to be there first as a school. That would, like, even if there is a teacher turnover, when teachers come in, they already find an established culture that already works.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not there, then it's never too late to create one. And this goes also to providing resources for teachers, whether it's PDs or trainings on these kinds of things and how to deal with such things. There will never be enough trainings to help teachers understand and manage classroom behavior. Mm-hmm. Trust me, even classroom behavior has been a reason why teachers are quitting their jobs.
Sure.
Like, you can have a class that you cannot manage, you cannot teach. And if you have a class that you can't manage or teach, it drains your energy. It drains you as a teacher. It kills your passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've seen teachers who talk to me and tell me, Junita, those students just killed my passion. Like, I love teaching, but I don't feel I'm teaching anymore. Create strategies. The schools should notice this and create strategies for teachers to learn how to manage classroom behaviors. And behaviors keep changing. The students that we are handling today are not the same that we had a long time ago. I've taught in 2 continents. I've taught students who sit, pay attention, and trust the teacher. And students who are talking when you're talking. They talk over you when you're talking. And at times they don't even listen. And it's time for exams and you're saying, okay, everyone, let's sit down and do this paper. And somebody is like, can I open my laptop as I do this paper? Can I Google it? And I'm like,
no.
Seriously?
No, you can't.
You shot your shot, but no.
Yeah. The first time I was shocked. Like, I was totally shocked.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think they ask those questions just to see the look on our face.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one for you. Watch this.
And I'm like, and the first question they will always ask you is, will this be assessed? Will this go into my grades? Okay, if it doesn't go into my grades, I don't bother with it.
Sure.
So
sure.
you'll just be talking and everyone is not paying attention.
Yeah.
So classroom management is a very big deal.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of engagement in those courses you were talking about, John? Because like she said, it's like when sometimes the students like, not on the exam. No, I don't need this. Bye.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So we've got this set up as like a once a week kind of thing, and it rotates through lots of different things that go on beyond the curriculum, I guess you could say. And I think our students value the opportunity to go into a session that's focused on well-being or their own sort of like health and how that can impact what they're learning. But I do think like the entire program itself kind of takes on a second tier, if you will, because it's like, just as you mentioned, this isn't being assessed. It's not the massive thing.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that over the time of doing that explicitly, I've seen a few more people or a few more students feel more comfortable, and therefore they feel like they can be more authentic and they can be more genuine in this course because it's not being assessed, because they're not going to get particular grades for it. And I think you'll still have students who maybe don't fully engage with whatever the topic might be.
Yeah.
But I think for some of those students who do, you start to lay a better foundation for that culture you were talking about before. You need to you want to create a culture that, and so often when we talk about culture, it's not always top down. It's not just management. It's not just, like who's running the place. It's got to be everybody who's there.
Yeah.
And therefore, when we're talking about like students being co-creators of that culture, I think it's important for them to understand, like, I have a role to play here too, and yes, I might come with my stresses, and yes, I might come with my stuff, and I might have some people that I can vent to or that I can speak to about it, and that'll help me. But it's also inappropriate for me to take all my stuff and throw it at everybody else and just say, hey, you need to sort with this now. So I think those sessions kind of help in that regard. But I think it raises a question, because it's like, do we value this thing enough? And do we have the evidence of it enough that says it's worth it while to then replace or take up curriculum time for this thing that exists beyond the curriculum? And I think every school kind of needs to wrestle with that a little bit and understand, like, just as you were talking about, you need to like, what are the students that are coming our way, and how are we making sure that they feel safe first so they can learn beyond that as well?
Yeah, and it's not just creating an exclusive program for it, but also as a teacher in class, try and find teachable moments. Like when you see a behavior, call it out, create a teachable moment right there. These teachable moments can do a lot even than just having a complete session outside class. Like in the former school that I taught, most students who finished their diploma program, most of them told me, like, most of the life lessons, I learned it in your class. Like, you remember when you told us this and this? Those teachable moments are very important, not even just for their mental health, even in aspects of socializing with other people, dealing with other people. When you see something in class, call it out. Yeah. When you see that this is something I need to tell students about, if it's related to your topic that you're teaching, bring it closer. I was teaching a topic in history that is now my MYP class, health and medicine. And we are looking at how the past used to treat medicine, psychosis, how they used to think that somebody has been bewitched and everything. And I try to tell them, because at times history can be boring, and I'm saying that as a history teacher. But
careful now.
It's up to you to relate it to what is currently happening. So I gave the students a project-based task, and I said, how can we turn this past knowledge and use it now? How will this knowledge help us now? And I was so impressed with my students when they came up with what they called like a mental health teenage app or some sort.
Okay.
Like this was an app like Instagram or something, but they called it healthy Instagram or something. I can't remember exactly. Like, other than body shaming and all that, it's about encouraging. Anytime you log into it, it tells you something positive about yourself and things like that. So the fact that students can relate this to that, which is an aspect of mental health, for me, that's important.
Are you an IB educator wanting to improve your practice and needing just a bit more support getting there? Ever wanted to learn more about a specific aspect of the diploma program, or just ask a question to an educational theorist about a specific IB aspect? IB Unplugged is the place for you. Simply visit cognity.com/IB Unplugged to submit your question to us and have your question explored in more detail in an upcoming episode. And now, back to the show. So, okay, let's talk about like IBDP specifically, because we know that the IB learner profile has all these different aspects to it. And of course, one of the main ones is balanced. And I think there's like this expectation that we can help create balanced individuals who come out of the program itself. And it kind of subtly implies well-being, but I'm wondering if like, I don't know, in your opinion and the stuff that you've worked with so far, do you feel like well-being should take more of a center stage on that and maybe even remove that idea of a balanced learner and more of like somebody who's well?
Well-being.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the term balanced is just appropriate there because in my understanding, when IB says balanced, they mean intellectual, physical, and emotional balance. And the fact that all these together, we don't forget the aspect that we are educating students on something. So education is at the center, but we are not just focusing on education. You need to balance all these aspects of you, social, emotional, and intellectual. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing about the aspect of being balanced is the interdependence of people. That you are because I am. We depend on each other, so we need to coexist. Mm-hmm. So you're not just balanced intellectually, you're balanced emotionally, you're balanced socially, you can relate with other people. And this is the aspect of creating global citizens. Can you live with others? Can you live amongst other people like a sane human being? And I'm putting sane in quotes.
Yeah. I love that. I think so often we look at balanced and we mean, like, at least people that I've spoken with, you constantly think like, oh, balanced means I've got to have like a work-life balance, or I've got to have like this sort of well-being idea. But I love what you're talking about here because it extends beyond the individual. And I need to like balance in the idea of like, what am I contributing to the society around me and how is that contributing to me? So not just intellectual, but as you say, the social, the emotional, the physical balance as well, that I'm not overemphasizing one thing versus the other. And I guess there's room for that with regard to like a focus on well-being, but it doesn't have to be restricted to that.
Yeah,
is that fair enough summary of what you said?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess with regard to the platforms and the ways that people are learning now, I think there's ways in which we possibly tried to increase that balance. And I guess like for you, Courtney, especially like with work at Cognity, it seems like this is something that allows a little bit better balance for young people as well. It gives them a chance to maybe have a bit more like control over their learning, I guess, or were those some like the aims with regard to the Cognity work itself, or is there other stuff that plays there?
Yeah, I would say there's such a huge part of well-being that's tied also to agency for a student and feeling like they have some kind of control over what they're learning and how they're learning and building confidence. And there's all of these kind of pieces that go into, I would say, maybe the tech side or the program side of how you're learning. And from our end, I would say some of the most powerful ways that we feel like we've hopefully been able to contribute to student well-being is building a sense of agency and a sense of control for students being able to know how am I doing and build confidence and feel like I can learn things at a pace and in a way that I feel confident in and that resonates with me. And I think it's that idea of if something doesn't make sense to me in the classroom, if it's not always like, if you don't speak up in the classroom, you're screwed. It's like, okay, I can look at this on my own. I can maybe watch a video or manipulate some different resources and do different activities that I can build up my confidence independently as well. I think that's a really big part of student well-being is being able to show up confident. And I think that we hope to be able to do that with student agency in a platform.
Yeah. So, and I guess that relates a lot back to what you were talking about there. You need to, with like, if we've got people who feel, safe, but also feel like they've got something they can contribute, then you can expect a lot more from them as well. And suddenly you've created now that culture you were talking about, like here's a collaborative culture where everything kind of works well together.
And I've seen students who don't even want to join. At times, even in class, when you group students, some don't want to be in groups because of their social issues. Like, I don't want to be grouped with her. I don't want to be grouped with her. And even though you're supposed to foster collaboration in the classroom. You're not supposed to force it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen students who go present your work, and the student is like, I don't want to present my work. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Because they will mock me.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a student won't just tell you, they will keep quiet and sit down. And you're like, Courtney, can you present your work? And they don't move, they just seated in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a teacher who gets mad easily, you'll be like, can you stand up and go present your work? But if you're a student who like senses the dynamics of the classroom, you'll notice there is a problem. It's not that she's not done her work. There's something bigger to it. She prefers doing it differently. And then when you move closer and ask, what's the problem? Miss, can I just present it to you alone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the aspect of presenting is not that you present it to me alone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are aspects of collaboration that also EdTech has made it very possible for students to do who cannot do it physically and other things, which really helps even teachers in classroom and also provide that individualized learning.
I think it's that you can, when you have tools that help you with that individualized learning, it gives you that space to be able to have more authentic conversations. When you're talking about what's going on at home, do you have a platform that's actually going to help you see the student is usually, star performer, whatever we want to call it. But then the last 2 weeks, they've just completely gone radio silent. I see something's going on here. Now I can have this conversation and be like, I have something to back me up. It's not just that intuition, which you said, of course you've been able to develop in your classroom, but maybe not every teacher can pick up on those subtleties. And so it's nice to be able to have some kind of foundation, some kind of conversation, like a artifact, I guess, to be able to have those conversations too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're bringing up here, Junita, is that teachers need to be constantly aware of like the subtleties.
Yes, very important. Even classroom misbehavior, it's not always somebody's indisciplined, because we are too quick to punish, and like we tell a child, no, you're misbehaving in my classroom. You're doing this in my classroom. Yes, there are instances where students do that all the time.
Yeah.
But once you've created a rapport with your students, you'll be able to notice things that are just off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the beauty of IBs, most classes are not big. You'll have maybe a max, if it's a bigger classroom, 15 students.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So you can create that one-on-one contact with your students and get to know what are the issues that students are facing. And it needs time for a teacher to do that. And for you to be able even to see some of the subtle signs, it needs you to also work on yourself. Mm-hmm. As a teacher, create time for you. Create hobbies for you that will be able to make you relax and just be sober at all times. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying teachers are insane at all times, but
but a lot of the time. Yeah. All right. Well, so as we kind of come to a close here, like you've brought up some really powerful things, and I wonder if there's some simple wins, some ways that like teachers can really help to create and foster these this culture that you're talking about, a culture that helps to support well-being and helps young people feel safe and ready to kind of give their best. And you've already alluded to it, like being aware of the little things as well as like looking after yourself. But are there other sort of simple wins that, educators who are listening right now could take to their classrooms right now and be like, here's how I can create a more inclusive, a better classroom that helps to build up that well-being as well as the intellect of the young people I get to work with?
So I'll just choose I'll say what I use for myself. One thing I usually do is I remember my why. I remember, why am I doing this? What motivates me? What drives me to do this every day? Mm-hmm. That is my why. My why is when I see a child that smiles, that's happy, that has developed. If you had low self-esteem, you come to my classroom and you leave with a smile and you're like, I love psychology. I love that lesson. You're excited to come to my class. That is what I want to live. Like, I want a student who will leave my class and say, I'm glad I took psychology, not just because of what it entails, but because of the teacher that I had. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that drives me. Another thing is just have a supportive environment. If you're a teacher and you're overwhelmed, it doesn't, they don't have to be your colleagues as well. If they are your colleagues, that's even better. But have a professional mentor who would mentor you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a class and you want to create this environment for your kids, get to know the kids that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know their interests. And one way of getting to know their interests is not just being stuck up in the classroom. Join an activity in the school. Join a club in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just be a teacher who checks in and checks out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So find other activities in the school to be involved in, because it makes your students see you in a different angle.
Yeah.
I am a teacher in psychology, but once I'm on the track, I'm running with them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're not going to beat me in this. So they're seeing me in a different angle.
Yeah.
They're seeing me like, Miss, are you going to participate in the athletics team? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, Miss, you'll not beat me this time. And like, okay, see you there. So like you see, the child sees you more than just a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So join something else that you will get to bond with these kids even more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to create that trust relationship. And once it's created, that trust will never leave. Find out their interests. I love movies a lot. And one time I challenged my class and I told them, there's no movie you've watched that I haven't watched. So every day somebody comes to class with, Miss, have you watched this? Have you watched this? Like, it creates interest in a, and they know that you care. So it's much easier for them to relate to you, to share their troubles. And once they like you, they would want to pass your subject.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So no student will like you and fail your subject. I've never heard of that before.
That's pretty common with me. No, but I like it. Okay, so remember your why.
Yeah.
Get yourself in a positive environment and get involved in the students' lives.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Those are
I
my
like
top 3, and they're easy to do. It's just like you create time for this to happen.
Nice. I have one last question. This one I want to kind of hear from both of you. So I have the pleasure of being able to work with a lot of professional learning for teachers. And I'm wondering if, I know that you mentioned at your previous school, you did a lot of professional development and a lot of training for things like trauma and being able to work with these students that have this really particular background. And I'm wondering for both of you, what's something that's really resonated for you that like really stuck with you in any of the trainings that you've done in the well-being space?
That's a great question. Junita, you go first. I need more time to think.
It's not what you teach, it's what type of teacher you are. It's not what you teach, it's what type of teacher you are. That like sinks deeply to me.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of teacher am I? Am I a teacher who inspires? Am I a teacher who creates and nurtures a global citizen? That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not just teaching my subject, I'm inspiring a generation.
Yeah.
So for me, that's basically it. That global citizen. Would I want to live with you in my space? Or once you're out of my class, you're just go away. I don't want to see.
Get out. We're done now.
Get out. We're done. So that for me is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say anything better than that. So we're going to leave it there. No, I mean, similar. I guess it'd be in a similar vein, but I was thinking a little bit more specifically practical to like stuff that I've looked at. And I guess, some of the ones that we looked at with regard to well-being and that sort of thing is constantly toe the line between expectation and of course care and looking forward or looking after somebody, because a big part of what somebody can bring is understanding their confidence of being a positive contributor. And you alluded to this earlier, Courtney, and of course we've been talking about it as well here with some of the things you've said, Junita, but like, if somebody believes that they have something valuable to bring to the table, then they'll bring it and they'll feel better about being in that space. So it was constantly this idea of like, how am I creating those opportunities for somebody to feel like they're valued as well? Mm-hmm. And I think for me as an educator in that practical realm of like, okay, when I create an assignment or when I create a lesson plan, what opportunities do I have here for somebody to feel autonomy and also that they are a positive contributor? And by doing those things, I can simultaneously show that I believe in them and push them. And therefore I get both of those things going and they can be a stronger person, I think.
Great. Thank you both. I appreciate that. I think just wrapping up, thank you so much for taking the time. I've loved this conversation. I think it's such an important one. I think that we could have done an hour each just thinking about teacher well-being and student well-being. It's such an important topic, but I love that you bring it in a very humanistic way. That's been fantastic to hear about what you're doing at your school and the way that you think about how you show up as a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Junita, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us and keeping it positive and fun. This was a really enjoyable conversation for me as well. And I hope for you too. But thanks so much for taking the time and to share your thoughts with us.
Definitely. I enjoyed it. I would love to have you in my school now, John. We would match your crazy.
I don't know if you want that. Get close to it. Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks so much. And wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
IB Unplugged is a Cognity podcast hosted by John Patton and Courtney Marlene and produced by Catalina Gaffney. Be sure to subscribe or follow and share with your fellow IB educators. If you'd like to submit a topic, request, or question, please do so on cognity.com/IB Unplugged. Let's keep the conversation going and support each other in teaching with confidence, creativity, and joy. See you next time.